Well, guess what? I had the whole thing recorded and I looked at the video and I didn't have my screen shared so you could see the sentences. So here I go again, and it may be a little faster this time. So if you're wondering if I'm going fast, that's why. Did you save room for dessert? So D and a Y make a J. Did ya? Did you save room for dessert? Just a little bit. Just a connects and the T's change to D's in little. Just a little bit. I was on mute. I was on connects mute, and mute starts with your tongue in a very high Y position. Mew. It sounds like a cat. Mew. I needed to unmute. The T changes to a D. The oo changes to I needed to. I needed to. I needed to unmute. And that little mark is to remind you to hold your tongue in the T position and not release it. Mute. He earns $500,000. He yearns. You're going from a high position, he, to a lower position because earns is really just the R sound and the R position. So it makes a Y. He yearns. He earns $500,000. I just got home a little bit ago. You don't have to say the T really. I just got home, connects little bit ago. The T changes to a D, a bit ago. I just got home a little bit ago. It sounds weird now that I've said it so many times. Little bit ago. Can I call you back? This is a good example of the can changing to kin because you put the emphasis on the verb. Can I call you back? Can I call you back? If you want to use the negative, now you usually don't hear the T, you usually just hear can. But in this case, the T can connect to the I. So it'll sound like can't I? Can't I call you back? Can't I call you back? This one is less polite. The first one is, may I? Is it okay if I call you back? Can't I? I don't know. It just implies a little more like, what's wrong with you? Why wouldn't I call you back? So use this one. Can I call you back? Or if you want to be even more polite, then add more words and make it, would it be okay if I called you back? And this, if I called you, I said it perfectly the first time instead of called ya. The D and a Y make a J, and the U changes to Would it be okay if I called you back? That's much more polite. Let me call you back. This is to a friend that you don't need to ask. You're just like, I'm going to do this. Let me changes to let me. You just skip the T completely and blend it together. Let me call you back. This has a lot of connections, so this is good. Clap along if you feel like a room without a. The T changes to a D. So I'm not going to sing it because I'm not a good singer, but I can use intonation. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. What do you do for a living? What do you do is weird to say because you do spell it like that, but you don't say it like that. What do you changes to what do ya. All these are the same vowel, wa, da, ya. And then do doesn't change because it's stressed. You keep the real vowel. What do you do for a living? For a. And you don't have to emphasize living because you can just ask, what do you do? So, what do you do? And when you get that far and you keep adding a living, people already know that's expected. So it doesn't have to be emphasized. And then if you answer the question, well, I do this. What do you do? What do you do? You're putting the emphasis on you. It's your turn. What do you do? The same thing happens with if you're the first person to ask, hey, how are you? You can say, how are you? How are you? The emphasis is on are because that's the condition you're in. I'm concerned. I want to know your condition. Not really. People just answer, I'm doing good, or I'm good, or just good. And then you return the question with, how are you? That's me. How are you? And that's why if you want to make the ultimate shorter answer, you can just say, good. You? Fine. You? Yeah. All right. You? It's the intonation that carries the meaning, so the words can be very short. If you want to have more interesting answers from people, maybe you can try, what's keeping you busy these days? Thank you, Simon, for that suggestion. What's keeping you busy these days? What's keeping you busy these days? That's a lot of z practice. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no mountain high enough. This is a good practice for the syllabic in mountain. So it goes up for the T, mount. And instead of saying 10, you hold it in that position, mount, and you make the N noise. Mountain, mountain. And I don't want to forget the words. We did a few words. Little, the T's changed to D's. Little. Unmute sounds a lot like on mute. So remember, it sounds very similar, but it's the sentence structure that's going to make a difference. I was on mute. I needed to unmute. So we can tell them apart. Interests. You don't have to say the T, interests, but you can. But it's easier just to skip it and say interests. We know the word and we know you're making it plural. And you would have to use a whole different sentence if you said, what are your interests? We know it's plural interest. I can't say, what is your interest? I guess we don't want to assume people only have one interest. Um, you have two choices: data, data. Dad, day. That's it. The T has to sound like a D, and the A at the end sounds like an But the first part can be dad or day. Either one is fine. People use them both, and it's just personal choice. Okay, that's it. Let's see how this comes out with my voice and the words. Thanks. Have a good night.